The young manager smirked as she fired the old lady with a cane. "You're too slow and old for this company," she said coldly. What she didn't know. The helpless woman she just humiliated owned the entire building, and revenge was coming. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more Karen stories. You're just too slow, Martha. We can't afford to have someone like you dragging the whole department down, Karen Miller said, her voice sharp enough to cut through the busy office. My mother sat silently at her desk, her arthritic hands folded in her lap as the younger manager continued her public humiliation. I stood frozen by the water cooler, my blood boiling as I watched this scene unfold. Mom had specifically asked me not to intervene, but every fiber in my being wanted to march over and reveal the truth. That Martha Williams wasn't just an elderly customer service representative with a disability, she was Martha Williams, founder and owner of Horizon Technologies, the very company where Karen was so proudly flexing her managerial power. "This is your final warning," Karen continued, dropping a folder labeled Performance Improvement Plan onto my mother's desk. "One more customer complaint about slow service, one more time needing help with the computer system, or one more day where you can't keep up because of that cane and you're done. Do you understand?" My mother looked up, her face calm despite the burning stares from colleagues pretending not to eavesdrop. "I understand perfectly, Ms. Miller." "Good. And please try to look more professional tomorrow. That cardigan isn't doing you any favors." With a dismissive flick of her wrist, Karen strutted back to her glass-walled office, her designer heels clicking aggressively against the tile floor. Only then did Mom's eyes meet mine across the room. She gave me a small, determined nod that I recognized immediately. In our family, that nod meant only one thing: the gloves were about to come off. This confrontation had been brewing for weeks, ever since Mom decided to go undercover in her own company. At 65, she could have been comfortably retired, enjoying the fruits of the business she had built from nothing 3 decades ago. Instead, she had become concerned about reports of age discrimination and decided to experience it firsthand by working as a regular employee. "I need to understand what's really happening in my company," she had explained to me 2 months ago. "James will act as CEO temporarily, and I'll work in customer service where no one knows who I am." I thought it was a terrible idea. "Mom, you built this company. You don't need to prove anything to anyone." "This isn't about proving something," she'd replied, her voice taking on that steely tone I knew so well. "It's about making sure Horizon Technology stays true to its values. Sometimes the only way to really know what's happening is to experience it yourself." Now, as I watched Karen Miller swagger back to her office, I wondered if Mom was finally regretting her decision. I approached her desk, keeping my voice low. "That's it, right? You've seen enough? Time to put that woman in her place." Mom shook her head slightly. "Not yet. I need more evidence." "Evidence?" "Mom, she just humiliated you in front of the entire department. She practically said she's firing you for being old and disabled. What more do you need?" My mother carefully opened the Performance Improvement Plan folder. "I need to see if anyone will stand up for what's right," she said quietly. "So far, not a single person has." I looked around the office. A few colleagues quickly averted their eyes, but most were studiously focused on their screens, pretending they hadn't witnessed their elderly coworker being berated for her age and disability. Only Stephanie, the young woman at the next desk, offered a sympathetic smile. That had been the most disturbing part of Mom's experiments so far. Not Karen's blatant discrimination, but everyone else's silence. The company my mother had built on principles of dignity and respect had somehow become a place where people were afraid to speak up. "Give me one more week," Mom said, tucking the folder into her purse. "I need to see this through." The following week was excruciating. Karen's treatment of my mother worsened daily. She assigned Mom the most difficult customers, criticized her constantly, and even scheduled mandatory team meetings in rooms that required using stairs, knowing it was painful for Mom to navigate them with her cane. I visited the office daily, watching helplessly as the discrimination continued. Most employees simply looked away, though a few, like Stephanie, offered small kindnesses when Karen wasn't looking. A cup of tea, help with the computer, taking difficult calls. But no one confronted Karen directly. On Friday afternoon, I arrived to find Mom packing her few belongings into a small cardboard box. "What happened?" I asked, though I already knew. "Karen terminated my employment," Mom said, her voice steady but her hands trembling slightly. "Apparently, I failed to meet the improvement targets in my plan." "That's it," I said firmly. "This has gone far enough." Mom nodded. "Yes, it has." She pulled out her phone and sent a text message. Within minutes, James Peterson, the acting CEO, appeared at the entrance to the customer service department. "Martha," he said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Is there a problem?" Karen hurried over, a bright, fake smile plastered on her face. "Mr. Peterson. What a surprise to see you down here today." "Indeed," he replied coldly. "Martha, what's happening?" "I've been terminated," Mom said simply. "Ms. Miller believes my age and disability make me unsuitable for this position." Karen's face flushed. "That is absolutely untrue. Her performance has been substandard. I have documentation." "About her slowness due to her cane? Or her difficulty adapting to technology because of her age?" James interrupted. "Yes, we're aware of your documentation. Martha has been documenting things too." Karen looked confused. "I don't understand why you're personally involving yourself in a routine termination, Mr. Peterson." That's when my mother stepped forward. "He's involved, Ms. Miller, because I asked him to be." "And who exactly are you to make such requests?" Karen asked with a dismissive laugh. The moment had finally come. Mom squared her shoulders and said clearly, "I'm Martha Williams, founder and owner of Horizon Technologies." The entire department fell silent. Karen's face drained of color. That's impossible," she stammered. "The owner is standing right in front of you," James finished. "For the past 2 months, Mrs. Williams has been working in customer service to better understand employee experiences." Karen's perfectly manicured hand flew to her mouth. I would never have." "Never have what?" Mom asked. "Never have discriminated against an older person with a disability if you'd known she had power? That's precisely the problem, Ms. Miller." By now, everyone in the department was watching. Some looked shocked, others terrified, and a few, I noticed with satisfaction, looked deeply ashamed. "Karen Miller, you're terminated effective immediately," James said. "Please clean out your desk. Security will escort you out." Karen began to cry. "Please, I need this job. I have bills, a mortgage." "You should have thought about that before violating our non-discrimination policies," Mom said firmly. "And basic human decency." As security led a sobbing Karen away, Mom turned to address the silent department. "Tomorrow at 9 a.m., there will be a company-wide meeting. Attendance is mandatory." The next morning, all 213 employees gathered in the main conference room. Many were whispering, having heard rumors about the drama in customer service. Mom walked to the front, leaning on her cane with James and me behind her. "Good morning," she began. "Most of you know me as Martha from customer service. A few of you have known me for years as the founder of this company. But apparently, none of you know what Horizon Technologies stands for anymore." The room fell completely silent. "When I founded this company 30 years ago, I built it on principles of respect, inclusion, and dignity for all. Somewhere along the way we lost sight of that. Yesterday, I experienced discrimination that no employee should ever face. But what disturbs me more is that dozens of you witnessed this behavior for weeks and said nothing." Several people looked down, unable to meet her gaze. "Today marks a new chapter for Horizon Technologies," Mom continued. "First, we're implementing mandatory anti-discrimination training for everyone. Second, we're creating an anonymous reporting system for workplace concerns. Third, I'm establishing a zero-tolerance policy for discrimination of any kind." She paused, looking around the room. "And finally, I want to recognize the few people who showed kindness when they thought I was just Martha from customer service." Mom called forward 5 employees, including Stephanie, who had offered small kindnesses during her time in customer service. "These employees will form our new workplace culture committee, with significant input into company policies moving forward." They demonstrated character when it wasn't convenient. In the weeks that followed, Mom's story spread throughout the business community. A local business journal ran a feature about the undercover boss, experiment, and Horizon Technologies' renewed commitment to workplace equality. The article didn't name Karen Miller directly, but described a manager who had been terminated for discriminatory practices. Karen's professional reputation was shattered. Unable to find another management position in our city, she eventually moved to another state. The last I heard, she was working as a retail clerk at a department store, a significant step down from her executive career. Meanwhile, Mom implemented all her promised changes and more. Horizon Technologies became known as one of the best places to work for people of all ages and abilities. Employee satisfaction soared, and with it, company performance. 6 months later, Mom officially retired from day-to-day operations, appointing Stephanie, who had shown kindness when it wasn't advantageous, as the new CEO. At her retirement party, Mom used her cane to tap her glass for attention. My little, undercover, experiment revealed problems I never knew existed, she said. But it also showed me the path forward. True success isn't measured just in profits, but in how we treat each person who walks through our doors. She smiled at me across the room. Sometimes, the most important lessons come when people don't know who you really are. It shows you their true character. A year later, we heard that Karen had attempted to sue Horizon Technologies for wrongful termination. Her case was quickly dismissed when Mom's extensive documentation was presented, including recordings of Karen's discriminatory comments. The failed lawsuit only further damaged Karen's reputation and employment prospects. On the second anniversary of what we now called the Karen incident, Mom invited me to join her for the unveiling of a new addition to the company lobby, a large plaque titled, The Horizon Technology Statement of Values. At the top of the list was, "We believe in the dignity and value of every person, regardless of age, ability, or background. We speak up when these values are threatened." Do you ever regret your undercover experiment? I asked Mom as we drove home from the ceremony. She considered for a moment. I regret that it was necessary. I regret that my company had drifted so far from its founding principles. But no, I don't regret doing it. And Karen? Do you feel bad about what happened to her career? Mom shook her head firmly. Karen did that to herself. Actions have consequences. But I hope she learned something valuable, just as our company did. When we arrived home, Mom found a letter in her mailbox. It was from a senior employee at another company who had read about her experience. He had been facing similar discrimination and, inspired by her story, had successfully challenged it. See, Mom said, smiling as she handed me the letter. Karen's actions hurt one person, herself. But standing up against discrimination helps everyone. As Mom often says now, the best revenge isn't punishment. It's creating positive change that lasts long after the drama is forgotten. But between us, I know she still enjoys telling the story of Karen's face at the moment of revelation. And honestly, I don't blame her one bit.